after there wasn't a winner in last night's drawing. The top prize now stands at $461 million with a cash value of $223.5 million. The next drawing takes place tomorrow. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Have an accident working now in Santa Monica, 10 westbound at Cloverfield Boulevard. That has moved off to the right shoulder. Traffic is slow on that drive from Western out to Robertson. Still heavy on the 405 South Drive, Sherman Way down to Getty Center. Get a stalled vehicle at the 101. And you've got heavy traffic on the 101 southbound drive coming away from Tampa Avenue to the 405.
Right now at Lowe's, buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 9/6. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. While supplies last.
Is this the title?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
Interesting match tonight in the U.S. Open tennis tournament. Two brothers are facing each other in the quarterfinals. Francis Tiafoe, ranked 10th in the world, takes on number 35, Ben Shelton. Tiafoe and Shelton are two of only three Americans left in the men's bracket. On the women's side, 19-year-old Coco Gauff is in the quarterfinals for the second straight year. She faces Jelena Ostapenko of Latvia Tuesday morning. Some household trouble for the Dodgers. Starting pitcher Julio Arias was arrested on charges of felony domestic violence, his second domestic incident. Arias was released on $50,000 bail. His court date is September 27th. The Dodgers are in Miami tonight to start a 6-game road trip. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Max, it's been too long, man. How you been?
I'm good. How you doing, bro?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well, and I'm always better when I hear your voice. And I thank you once again for the opportunity to talk to you. Let me make the most of the time that we have. You've been moving this summer. Before I get to the tour that you're presently on, how did you enjoy the time with Anthony Hamilton and Joe?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I mean, it was one of those things that you can't believe you did,
mm-hmm.
and that you survived because it was literally, I guess the pandemic had like sort of chilled out, and so we kind of went out at the right time, and by the time we were done, the numbers started to rise again. But just the whole process of, trying to get out there and rally for life, so to speak.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine two greater people to go out there and do it. And it was incredible for me. I was surprised. I couldn't believe all the people who showed up.
Man, please.
I had no idea people were going to come through because literally it was just like, we're in a pandemic and, I just said, hey, we'll see what happens. But there were people in the house. So, I'm just glad that we all survived it.
Man,
that's all I can say.
If you tell Negroes that Maxwell and Anthony Hamilton and Joe are gonna be in an arena together, you ain't got to worry about black folks showing up, man. They gonna be there in droves as they were.
Well, I'm glad they came. I mean, look, I always say this. I never take it for granted. I never take. I always look at it as a blessing, and I keep my humble cap on when it comes to those types of things, because at any moment, at any time, it can be taken from me. So I'm just grateful to those people who came through, and we had a good time, and especially with Joe, because he's got so many songs. We're just like, damn, really that one. And then Anthony as well. So it was a great night, and it was a great thing. We did a wonderful partnership with the Black Promoters Collective, and that was nice to kind of do that.
I love
there's so many levels to it. So yeah.
No, I love it when black folk come together and work together and everybody succeeds. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm glad you gave the Black Collective, the Promoters Collective, a chance to work with you on that tour. Obviously, you're the headliner, have been and always will be. I'm fascinated because you've got some different folk with you for the nights you're going to be at the Hollywood Bowl in Southern California. This program is syndicated across the nation, but of course flagship here in LA. So we'll talk about your Hollywood Bowl dates in a moment. But I'm fascinated to ask you, how is it that you go about deciding who you're going to gel with? And I don't mean, personality wise. I mean, when you put together a bill, and again, you're the headliner, so you have the final say. How do you know what works, what's going to work on tour in terms of the people that you're touring with?
Because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally a fan of the music that they do. Ravenna and Sir, Pink Sweats. I mean, even with the crews that we're doing, Sabrina Claudio, Robert Glasper, Lettucey, Gallant, Music Soul Child. I mean, I'm just a fan, and I'm just trying to see if I can, trick my audience into following them to a degree. Because especially in this day and age, it's funny, I was reading something, I was reading an article about how hard it is for, the way music is now, obviously, the playlists. So sometimes you know the song, but you don't know the artist, and you know the voice, but you don't know the face. And it's very hard for these incredible artists to get an audience, because people are just, tapping in R&B and chill, or Latin and chill, or whatever playlist that they mess with. And so all these people get grouped together because of an algorithm, but people don't necessarily know who they are. And I do, because, I'm from back in the day when you bought a record and you watched a show or you read up about an artist. And some people, are much more relaxed about how they experience music. So the reason why I try to bring all these incredible artists out is so that the people can, see them and see their faces and go, oh, you're the one that sings that song, oh my God, and so it's a good way to sort of keep good music moving, because there's so much stuff that's not necessarily great, and sometimes it's, look, I'm not here to judge what other artists do or what I think is good or bad, but I just try to stand behind the ones that I love, and so I'm just grateful to be able to do that.
It's good to be the king and pick the folk that you want to hang out with. Pick people whose music you like to go on tour with you. I ain't mad at you, man.
I wouldn't say king. I would definitely say, something else.
Yeah, I know you. You have been for the almost 30 years I've known you, the most humble cat in the room all the time, and I love your humility. It's one of the things I adore most about you. You are prodigiously talented, but as humble as they come. Since you mentioned the cruise, let me follow up on that right quick before we move forward. February 10th through the 14th of next year, February 10th through 14th next year on the Norwegian Pearl, Maxwell is taking to the sea in the inaugural Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite cruise. You heard some of the artists he mentioned a moment ago. They're going to be on the cruise with him. What made you do this?
I thought, why not? I have my management team, which I'm sure you probably know John and Kevin.
Sure.
From all the years that I've worked with them, they've been, kind of like, just giving me new avenues and ways to do things. And of course, Valentine's Day is perfect. And all these other artists as well, they're just so great. Obviously, I've worked with Robert. We were on Robert Glasper. We were on tour together.
Sure.
For the first of the trilogy, Black. And of course, he's gone on to win hundreds of Grammys with Black Radio 1, 2, and 3, and has worked on so many movies. And so he's, I just want to kind of bring, these artists to the people.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard for them to get the exposure because people just listen to playlists. They don't really know who the artists are. So hopefully I can make a dent in that issue and give these artists an opportunity because it's very rare to be able to do that. So I wouldn't say I'm the king that's bringing that all together.
Yeah.
I just say I'm just trying to contribute and not compete, but contribute and bring as much newness to the situation.
It is Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite Cruise, the inaugural cruise, February 10 through 14 on the Norwegian Pearl. More with Maxwell when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac perfected like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Coming 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved. Clearly, we're hustling. Bussin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com. Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with NCHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Extended Family Outreach Ministry presents Praise Fest 2023, Worthy to be Praised Conference and Concert, September 23rd, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. Morning worship, keynote address, and conference featuring women in creative arts ministry and leadership sharing our stories, His glory, giving all praise, honor, thanksgiving, and glory to God. Don't miss the afternoon Stand Up and Sing Praises concert with the Katinas, gospel singer Babby Mason, Three Daughters, and Kevin Click. That's Praise Fest 2023. 2023 Worthy to be Praised Conference and Concert, September 23rd, Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. For more information and tickets, go to PraiseFest 2023 at Eventbrite.com. Plus, for the next 48 hours, use promo code KBLA48 to get your tickets free. You do not want to miss this day of praise. That's PraiseFest 2023 at Eventbrite.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Tavis Smiley. Glad to have you tuned into the Tavis Smiley Show. Our guest is Maxwell. In case you've just tuned in, he has a great cruise. His inaugural cruise called Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite Cruise. Next year, February 10 through 14 on the Norwegian Pearl. Get a seat, get a cabin if you can. Great lineup. Maxwell, Lettucey, Robert Glasper, Sabrina Claudio, Music Soul Child, Leva James, Gallant, and more. Making stops in Nassau, in the Bahamas, and a few other places. So if ever there were a cruise you want to be on right around Valentine's Day, this is the one. And so I encourage you, not that you need my encouragement, to go quickly and try to get a cabin to be on that thing. We were talking earlier about your touring recently with Anthony Hamilton and Joe. You know, one of the other things I was saying to you during the break, I've seen you, as you know, perform all across the country. I'm a huge Maxwell fan. Everybody knows that. What I have never seen, though, and I don't know how I've missed this, what I have never seen is you in concert accompanied by a symphony. And you've done that a couple of times on this tour, doing it on this tour. What's it like when Maxwell is on stage with a symphony accompanying him?
I got to tell you, I'm just as much of an audience member as the audience is, because I'm just floored by the level of dedication and, you know, respect that the orchestra has for what they do. I mean, it's like I'm in between the audience and them, and I'm marveling at them, and I'm trying to bring the energy that they're giving me to the audience, and the audience is just as marveled, because I've never heard my music, you know, in like symphonic, like it just, and Derek Hodge, you know, who is an incredible arranger of strings. He's also an incredible bass player. He was also my musical director for a few years. And he's the one that did everything. So when you hear, it's like being in a movie. I feel like I'm James Bond or something. It's bizarre. Like the only way I could describe it. It's just like, wow, this is so fancy. It's just so bougie. But it's also, the audience is filled with musicians and people who are violinists and, you know, that play the harp. They're coming to celebrate music. It's a very different atmosphere. It's not necessarily the atmosphere of let's get a selfie, and, you know, it's not that. It's about, it's almost like going to the opera or something, or watching a ballet. Sometimes I turn around and I watch the musicians because I'm in absolute awe.
I'm laughing thinking Bond, Maxwell Bond. So that's kind of funny when you say you feel like James Bond in this situation. Have you always, I love strings. Have you always loved strings?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been very partial to the symphony in that way, just the whole thing. But when you hear Ascension with an orchestra, you don't think you can hear it that way until you hear it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow. It's just a testament to the music and to the choices that I was able to make with my friends who were fans of, you know, Miles Davis. And, you know, when I hear compositions that I've written with Stuart Matchman, you know, being played by a 60-piece orchestra, it's unlike anything I've ever, there's no way to describe it, really. So it's very special. It's a very special experience. We did it in 2019. We did it at the Kennedy Center. We had 5 shows. To my understanding, we broke the record. I think the last person to have that many sold-out nights was Marvin Gaye, which was unbelievable to me that so many people were there. during that time. And then I think we have 4 nights at the Kennedy Center. I'm never sure about where I'm going to be or how many nights it's going to be, because I got to be honest to you and to your listeners, I get scared. You know, I do have stage fright, so the less I know, the better it's going to go with when it's time to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? Yeah, I do know what you mean. What's funny about that? By the way, you did it at the Kennedy Center with the National Symphony Orchestra, and at San Francisco's Davies Symphony Hall with the San Francisco Symphony. So he's done this a couple times. He mentioned stage fright. I'm going to take Max back to the first time we met many years ago. It's been a couple decades plus since we first met when I was doing my show on BET. That's long before NPR and PBS and this current iteration of my work with this nationally syndicated radio program. Max and I have known each other for a couple of decades now. And I remember getting a call. You may or may not recall this. I got a call all these many years ago from Maxwell's people that Max was considering coming on my show on BET at the time, but he wanted to talk to me first. And I'm like, well, why does Max want to talk to me first? And what I realized was that he does, in fact, have stage fright. He is he gets scared at times. As talented as he is, he does have this stage fright. And I think he wanted to just meet me and talk to me to make sure that he and I were cool and that the conversation would go well before he came on the air. Of course, it did go well. He came on, and we've talked more times than I can count over the years. But that brother had to interview me first to make sure that I was okay for him to come on. Now, you know who did me the same way? Your friend, my friend, exactly, Prince. Prince did the same exact thing. The dude had decided that he decided he wanted to come on the show, but he wanted to talk to me first. He calls me and invites me to lunch. We spend 4 or 5 hours talking at lunch, and once he sort of checked me out, he came on the program. The rest is history, and for 20 plus years, he and I were the best of friends. But it's always amazing to me that artists of your stature and Prince's stature still deal with stage fright from time to time.
I didn't know that about him, but I didn't know that about him. But I can tell you that the interviews that you've had with Prince are iconic. I mean, the memes from that interview. My microphone is on, and just like like your interview with him is literally, it is. Oh my God, it's gold. It's just no one has had an interview with Prince. I mean, there's the American Bandstand one, and then there's yours, where he barely spoke. Yeah. And then there's the one where he's really explaining and expressing his feelings and his perspectives on so many different things. It's so sad to know that he's not here. It's something that I wake up and still feel hollow about, that he's not around. He inspired so many people. I mean, he gave me the will and the courage to kind of like step out there and be who I was. And so, in his memory, I send love to his soul, wherever it may be, and to all of his family members and his fans. But no, it was just, it was a very interesting time when I first did that interview with you because, I was trying to branch out creatively. I was dealing with, the radio stations that wanted certain sounds from me, and obviously the politics within the label. Sure. Realizing that I was part of a company that was very used to pop type things, and that the art kind of, if it was artistic, great, but in the end it was about, the bottom line, and I was kind of dealing with that, and you were one of the few people that gave me a platform to sort of explain who I wanted to be as an artist as I was beginning so early. I remember letting people know that it wasn't about money, especially when, during that period of time, everyone was talking about money and everybody was out for cash. And here I was trying to make a creative movement. And you gave me a platform to explain that. And 20 years later, there are songs and artists that resemble Embria in many ways. And it's nice. It's nice to see that art won and prevailed.
No,
in the end.
Of course, trust me, it was my honor then, as it has been all these years, and even today, to give you a platform. Anytime you want it, you have my platform. Watching my timer, just a few minutes left with you. Let me cover a few more things right quick. You mentioned Ascension, one of my favorite Maxwell tracks ever. And I want to come in a moment to how you've avoided being boxed in artistically. You've been very intentional about that. You have not allowed folk to box you in creatively, artistically. We'll come to that in a second. But when you think about Ascension, you think about the Urban Hang Suite project. Speaking of that, we talked earlier about the cruise, Urban Hang Suite cruise, next year, February 10 through 14 on Norwegian Pearl. When you think back to Ascension and that project all these years later, what do you think? Put another way, does it sound as good to you as it sounds to me all these years later?
I mean, there's so many great memories. Again, you probably know the story as well. I had to wait for a year for the finished project to even be released, and people discovered it and demanded it more so than it was forced down their throat. But also Mike Pila would mix that record, and he's no longer with us, and Leon Ware is no longer with us, and I co-wrote something with him, and and Wallow Watson, who was on the album, who I co-wrote the Sweet theme and the Urban theme, he's no longer with us. So I mean, that record has I'm very sentimental about it because so many of my heroes are not with me on this planet right now, but I see that, I hear their souls, and I hear their hearts in that work. So it's a very sentimental piece of work for me, and it was groundbreaking because it really set me up to, do whatever I wanted creatively, But at the same time, the environment was right for it. I mean, D'Angelo had just bursted onto the scene, and and he, pretty much kicked the door wide open for so many of us, and Erykah Badu, and there's just so many artists that, came flowing through that time and era. So it's a very nostalgic experience. I think that's probably why we decided to call the cruise that, because it is the beginning. It's the beginning of everything that you would ever know about me.
Yeah, I have rarely seen anybody come out of the blocks the way you came out. I mean, you came out the blocks, on fire, and you haven't stopped, of course, all these years later. But that project is always, there are some projects that are perennially on my playlist. I mean, they never fall off. And Urban Hang Suite, it has been there since it first dropped. It will never come off of my playlist, and I know that I speak for millions of other fans who feel the same way. Two other things right quick, we'll let you go. How have you, over these years, avoided being boxed in artistically, creatively? Prince had to fight the same fights as he did it majestically, and you've done the same thing. You've done what you've wanted to do, and your audience has embraced what you've done. But artists have to fight for that kind of artistic and creative freedom, do they not?
They do, because, we all kind of, I think every creative person goes through a moment where they meet the devil.
Wow.
And, it's kind of like that 40 days and 40 nights experience where, your initial experience and how music gripped you becomes a decision of wealth or a decision of integrity and faith. I do watch a lot of my friends who I respect and appreciate, who are very wealthy from the work that they've done. They've made decisions that specifically made them wealthy through their work. And then, then there are the others who don't necessarily find the kind of wealth that others do, but have such an impact creatively. And it's just up to the artist to make a decision on what they deem to be the greatest reward that they can receive from the work they do. Is it a big house, or is it, touching the spirits and the souls that, need that bit of joy that you can create for them? I mean, I think you can have both at the same time, but it's very rare that you because there's certain things you have to do, audiences you have to reach, features you have to feature with, people you have to. It's a whole political situation that is so. You know, at times it's like, this is too much. This is hurting my head. I just want to like make a song that's nice, and you know. So you know, I think you know being able to sort of like create your own events and like the cruise and like these wonderful Hollywood Bowl shows and the symphony shows, you can create your own situation and then help others to kind of gain some gravity and some traction so that they can continue in their own pursuits. You know, that's kind of literally where I feel rich. I feel the richest then. So it's a question of, you know, who you're asking, really, at the end of the day.
However rich you feel, we have been enriched as fans of yours all the more. Maxwell's graceful and soulful R&B and 3 decades of hits will set it off in the Hollywood Bowl's fireworks finale. If you are fortunate enough, lucky enough to get to Los Angeles, September the 8th through the 10th, with elegant backing from his veteran touring band, and he'll be featuring Pink Sweats on Friday, Sir on Saturday, Raveena on Sunday. Going to be a great weekend at the Hollywood Bowl, closing out the fireworks finale. If you can get to Southern California to that show, I encourage you to do so. And February 10 through 14, 2024, on the Norwegian Pearl, Maxwell taking to the sea in the inaugural Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite Cruise. Max, I love you, man. There ain't nothing you can do about it.
Same here.
All right.
Same here. I'm so happy that we got to talk, and you know, you're a real one, and you understand the whole process, and you know, I wish you great success and continued success, and hopefully you'll be in one of those cabins, you know, with pina colada, with, you know, spilling your drink on everybody.
Trust me, I will be there. I will be there. Love you, man. Thanks for the time. I'll talk to you soon.
Always, lots of love. God bless you and your listeners. Thank you.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. African-American Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are facing criticism from some after asking for donations to help victims of the Maui wildfires. The video posted on Instagram asked viewers to donate to a relief fund that they just launched with $10 million of their own. Some who commented on the video felt that wasn't enough, arguing Winfrey and Johnson can afford to donate more and they should be asking their millionaire friends, not common people, to donate. The Powerball jackpot continues to grow after there wasn't a winner in last night's drawing. The top prize now stands at $461 million with a cash value of $223.5 million. The next drawing takes place tomorrow. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
We have an accident working now in Santa Monica, 10 westbound at Cloverfield Boulevard. That has moved off to the right shoulder. Traffic is slow on that drive from Western out to Robertson. Still heavy on the 405 South Drive, Sherman Way down to Getty Center. Had a stalled vehicle at the 101. And you've got heavy traffic on the 101 southbound drive coming away from Tampa Avenue to the 405.
Right now at Lowe's, buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 9/6. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. While supplies last.
It's the tire sale of all tire sales. Buy two, get two free. Now at your local Big O Tires. That's 2 free tires when you buy 2. Valid on select tires with the purchase of an alignment and tire protection package. Buy 2 tires, get 2 free. Now through September 17th. For your nearest store, visit BigOTires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Interesting match tonight in the U.S. Open tennis tournament. Two brothers are facing each other in the quarterfinals. Francis Tiafoe, ranked 10th in the world, takes on number 35, Ben Shelton. Tiafoe and Shelton are 2 of only 3 Americans left in the men's bracket. On the women's side, 19-year-old Coco Gauff is in the quarterfinals for the 2nd straight year. She faces Jelena Ostapenko of Latvia Tuesday morning. Some household trouble for the Dodgers. Starting pitcher Julio Arias was arrested on charges of felony domestic violence, his second domestic incident. Arias was released on $50,000 bail. His court date is September 27th. The Dodgers are in Miami tonight to start a 6-game road trip. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center proudly presents its 25th annual Real Black Men Short Film Showcase, September 22nd through September 24th. Join us for the opening night celebration on Friday, September 22nd, and enjoy the short film showcase featuring 47 films by emerging black male directors from across the country. Continuing on Saturday, September 23rd and Sunday, September 24th. All events will be held at the Regal LA Live Cinemas, 1000 West Olympic Boulevard in downtown Los Angeles. For more information and tickets, visit bherc.org. That's bherc.org or call 323-957-4656. That's 323-957-4656. Don't miss your chance to celebrate excellence in black cinema all weekend long at the Real Black Men Short Film Showcase. See you there.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
It was 1972. My mom and papa brought me through. Back then I was the favorite, so they say. Even though he was way before his time, I knew every Nesta Marley line. You know that Peter Touch was fly. Them diamond socks and corduroy. Fast forward to 1981. My dad moved on and so did I. Inside I kept his songs alive. So they say I'm an old soul, living in the body of a 9-year-old. Guess I've been here before. I'm an old soul, tribute to the ones who made it all possible. Inside me a legacy lives on.
Stephen Marley, I absolutely adore this song. When I got it, man, I could not stop playing it. I just put it on repeat and played it over and over and over. I love this track, Stephen. I'm honored to have you on the program. This is Tavis Smiley, and our guest is Stephen Marley. He is the second son, of course, of the legendary Bob Marley. I'm delighted to have Stephen on this program. Stephen, how are you, sir?
Yes, brother. Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I'm good, man. Well, thanks.
I'm glad to hear your voice, man. I love this track. Tell me about it, Stephen.
Yeah, this track is paying homage to the legacy that I've been born into and those that paved the way before me, you know?
Yeah. No, I love the acoustic. I love the lyrics. It's a beautiful, beautiful track. And tell me about writing this. It is an homage, as you mentioned, to those who made you possible and your journey possible. Tell me about the writing of the lyrics, about the song.
Yeah, well, the song came about by Omi. Omi, in love with the cheerleader, he brought the vibe to me with Specialist, and just fitting to pay homage to the legacy. Those that set the foundation for you to rise.
Yeah. You're years into your career now. You're an 8-time Grammy winner. So you've established your own bona fides. You've established your own rights to be called an amazing artist, which you are. But what do you make of this legacy all these years later that you inherited? And again, the fact that you've been allowed to establish yourself. There are a lot of folk who have a legacy like yours, and they can't move out of that shadow. So just talk to me about how you feel about the legacy, Stephen, that you inherited.
Well, first of all, legacy is important, in any family and all of those things, coming from a family, a big family, and not following it in those footprints, but continuing the legacy, so to speak, And for me personally, it's just very important and comfortable for me in that shoe.
Yeah. I saw your brother Ziggy recently at the he was at the Greek, I think. So I saw Ziggy.
Yeah.
I saw Ziggy not long ago. He killed it as always. An amazing performance. I've asked this question of Ziggy, but I've never asked this question of you, Stephen. So let me ask you this question, and that is, when you, to your point, legacy is important, but when that legacy is Bob Marley. You could have done something else. You didn't have to go in this direction. You didn't have to your point about the footprints and the footsteps.
Right.
You didn't have to do this and open yourself up to critique, open yourself up to criticism that he ain't his daddy, he ain't this, he ain't that. Again, you're an 8-time Grammy winner, so you a bad boy, and everybody knows that. But did you ever consider not doing the music thing because your dad is Bob Marley?
Well, no, I mean, I was born a musician. I didn't become a musician. I was born.
Yeah, man.
Right. Yeah. I was born this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I received that. That it wasn't something you became. It just it happened naturally. It happened naturally.
Yeah. Indeed.
Tell me though about the journey. And again, you've succeeded at this quite nicely. But tell me about the journey being born this way to finding your own voice. How did you find your own voice, your own flow?
I tell you the truth, my brother. I'm just be myself, and embrace who I am in that sense. We never have no struggle to find my voice in that sense. I always outspoken and be myself, be who you are in that aspect,
Yeah, nope.
Yeah.
I hear you. As I mentioned a few moments ago, this is your first album in over 7 years. What took you so long, Stephen? Where you been, Stephen Marley?
Well, I've been touring and, being a granddad and being a father and just making music in general that is not necessarily my music, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been keeping up the legacy, and all that entails.
Yeah. When so many years pass and you're doing a gazillion other things as you have done over the last 7 years, when so much time passes, like as an artist, what happens? And I'm just trying to get a better understanding of, what takes place that allows you to realize that now is the time for me to get back in the studio and do some new stuff. Like what's the genesis of that? What causes that to happen?
Well, I mean, in this particular time here, this pandemic, just the whole state of the world, and trying to feel normal and get back that footing. So that in this aspect, that was the driving power there, just the state of the world and what was going on politically and everything, every aspect. in that sense. You know? Yeah.
Our guest is Stephen Marley, the 8-time Grammy winner. Bob Marley's second son, a new album out, his first in over 7 years. It's called Old Soul. We'll talk more with Stephen Marley about his musical career when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility, not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
Extreme heat increases your risk of heat illness and death. Warning signs of heat exhaustion include muscle cramps, headache, and nausea. Signs of heat stroke include a fever of 103 or higher, confusion, and loss of consciousness. Protect yourself by limiting time spent outdoors, staying hydrated, and staying cool in air-conditioned spaces. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Our guest is Stephen Marley. We had a great conversation at the top of this hour with Maxwell. So 2 great artists in 1 hour. Maxwell at the top of the hour, Stephen Marley here at the bottom of the hour. 8-time Grammy winner is he, second son of Bob Marley, and his first album in over 7 years is called Old Soul. We played that title track a moment ago, which I again adore. So Stephen, when persons pick up this new project, tell me what they're going to hear. We gave them a taste of the title track, as I said, but what's on this project 7 years later?
Yeah, well, they're going to hear and feel, a very intimate, personal approach to music in general, and just that warm vibes. That healing. It has a healing component about it that I find. And I hope that others find that in it as well.
Mm-hmm. When you say a healing component, what are you driving toward? What are you getting at?
Well, I mean, a few months ago I lost my son. And before the project had a meaning, but since that it took on a new meaning to me, and some of the words that manifested now. That he's gone and thing. It heals. It heals me.
Yeah.
As well as the way it's recorded. It's broken down with the acoustic guitars, and there's not any electric equipment on the album. It's all acoustic piano, acoustic guitar, horns, and such forth. So it has a healing component that I find, and that's what I really hope that people that get to listen to it find that calm vibes, you know?
Yeah. No, as I said earlier, I love the acoustic sound of it, of that track, Old School, and the entire project has that acoustic sound. And I take your point about the healing virtue, the healing nature, the healing sound of the project. And our condolences on the loss of your son. I can't imagine what it's like for any parent to lose their child. It ain't supposed to happen that way. And so our condolences to you, Stephen, and your entire family on the loss of your son, my friend.
Thank you.
But you said something a moment ago that I want to go back to, and I've talked to a bunch of artists over the years, and I've had conversations with them about this, and what you said a moment ago leads me to want to ask you about it. And it's about lyrics. You've done so many songs. You've written so many lyrics. Are there songs that you wrote years ago that you perform now, where the lyrics have taken on a different meaning all these years later?
Yes, man, definitely.
Yeah.
And definitely, I have a song on this album called "Cool as the Breeze."
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it a few years ago, and just as I said, just my whole situation that is happening to me now, and the words of that song is like, wow, you know. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to many artists who feel the same way. They write something one year, and 10, 15, 20 years later, the lyric means something totally different to them. So
Indeed.
I'm not surprised to hear that. When we come forward with our guest, Stephen Marley, his career began his musical journey began at the age of 6 with the release of Children Playing in the Streets alongside his brother Ziggy, who I referenced earlier. I am curious to get his take on the unique ways in which his career has taken off, and he's done remarkably well. And the way that Ziggy's career took off as a solo artist, and he has done remarkably well. It doesn't hurt when your dad is Bob Marley, but we'll talk about that when we come forward. Steve Marley, his new project out right now. First album in over 7 years is called Old Soul, and you're listening to Stephen Marley on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together
that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Will Jimeno. I'm a retired Port Authority police detective and a 9/11 survivor. For 13 hours, I was buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center. I was rescued thanks to brave people who were willing to put their own lives on the line to save mine. For 9/11 this year, a National Day of Service, I'll be paying it forward by taking time to help others. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org to learn more.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
This rich dialogue with Stephen Marley, 8-time Grammy winner, second son of Bob. His first new album, once again, in 7 years, is called Old Soul. It's great acoustic sounds on this piece. As he said, it's very healing, and indeed it is. He got some great collaborators. I ain't mad at Stephen Marley. He's got some great collaborators on this project, including Eric Clapton, some guy named Damian Jr. Gong Marley, some other guy named Ziggy Marley, and some other great people on this album with him. As I mentioned a moment ago, your musical journey starts at the age of 6 with the release of that great project, Children Playing in the Streets, alongside your brother Ziggy. It marked, of course, the inception of the Melody Makers, a band comprised of those Marley siblings, where you played a significant role as a guitarist and singer and songwriter. All these years later, what do you make of the unique ways that your career as a solo artist took off, and the way Ziggy's career as a solo artist took off, and Damien, for that matter? What do you make of all these individual careers that have all just completely blossomed and flourished, Stephen?
Yeah. Well, I'll just say, from 6 years old to this day, there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work, regardless. We used to go to school, come from school, take a break, then go to rehearsals, and that's every day, So it's hard work, you know what I mean? And that's where we can say, we will put in the work.
Yeah, no, there's no way around that. I find myself telling young folk today all the time, there ain't no way around the hard work, is there, Stephen? You got to put the work in, man.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed, brother.
You mentioned the pandemic earlier, and that being one of the genesis for this project. On this, let me just ask you two questions. Let me take you back to the pandemic first of all. When that pandemic hit, we didn't know what the state of our world was. We didn't know what the future was going to be. Did you ever consider, when you were locked in the house, that you might not ever get back out on stage again to do what you were born to do?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say never.
Yeah.
Because when man plan, God have a plan, and whatever God plan is.
Yes.
That's what we in line with God's plan. So we know God have Him ultimate plan, and we have faith in that. So I didn't say never. It was just still so unsure.
Yeah.
Just the times.
Yeah.
Was so unsure. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of uncertainty, to be sure. A lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
That said, so what does it feel like now on this side of the pandemic to be back on stage, touring the world, doing what you were born to do?
Oh, and it's the best feeling,
Yeah.
Again, music for me is that healing. It's my church, So it's just the best feeling to be able to go out there and play music and react with the people from the music, the vibration of the music.
Yeah.
Best feeling.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're out there doing what you were born to do. Few do it better than Stephen Marley.
Yeah.
His new project is called Old Soul, featuring some great collabs with people like, as I said, Eric Clapton and Ziggy and Damien and others, Slightly Stupid, others on this project. It's a great album. Stephen, congrats on it, brother. Good to have you on this program. Thank you for your time, and all the best to you, my friend.
Yeah, man. Thank you, my brother, for having me. It's an honor, always.
My great honor to talk to you once again. Thank you, sir. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. 3 hours of Tavis Smiley coming your way tomorrow. Until then, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep the faith.
Inside me, legacy lives on. Inside me, legacy lives on.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. African-American Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are facing criticism from some after asking for donations to help victims of the Maui wildfires. The video posted on Instagram asked viewers to donate to a relief fund that they just launched